the manager who tried to destroy me, and how I took him down. I never imagined I'd find myself in a battle for my career, but when ambition turns toxic, survival becomes a fight. I was just an ordinary employee at a mid-sized tech company, content with my role and respected by my peers. I wasn't one for office drama, just a hard-working, reliable person who got the job done. But everything changed when Greg arrived. Our previous manager, a mentor and friend, left for a new opportunity, and Greg stepped in. The transition was rough from the start, but I kept an open mind. On his first day, he walked into our team meeting and made a grand announcement: "I don't care how things were done before. There's a new sheriff in town." Little did we know, this sheriff was more tyrant than leader. The first red flags. At first, Greg's changes seemed trivial: new policies, altered workflows. Nothing too major, just a few shifts in how things were done. But soon, his actions became more than just irritating, they started to feel personal. He questioned my every decision, making unnecessary corrections to my work, and assigning me projects without clear instructions or context, leaving me in the dark about expectations. What really caught my attention, though, was the way he began to publicly undermine me. In team meetings, Greg would pick apart my suggestions, making me feel incompetent in front of my colleagues. I had always been a problem solver, the go-to person when things got tough, but suddenly, nothing I did was good enough for him. He didn't hesitate to criticize even the smallest of mistakes. Then came the tipping point. One morning, I walked into work to find that Greg had manipulated data in one of the reports I had been working on, making it appear that I was underperforming on a key project. He presented this distorted data to HR, claiming I had failed to meet objectives, which led to me being placed on a performance improvement plan, PIP. It felt like a death sentence. The plan was a corporate tactic designed to justify firing someone, and I knew it. Taking action. I could have walked away. I could have accepted the PIP and quietly faded into the background, but that's not who I am. Instead, I decided to fight back, not with confrontation, but with strategy. I was no longer going to sit idly by while Greg tried to destroy my career. I started documenting everything. Every meeting, every email, every instance where Greg contradicted himself or overstepped his boundaries. I kept a detailed record of his actions, even the smallest ones that seemed insignificant at the time. I knew that if I was going to expose him, I needed to have everything in writing, proof that his behavior wasn't just a series of unfortunate events but a pattern of misconduct. The deeper I dug, it wasn't just Greg's incompetence that bothered me, it was his past. The more I observed him, the more I realized that this wasn't the first time he'd tried to manipulate a team. I started digging into his history. What I found was more disturbing than I could have imagined. His resume had been inflated with false claims about his education and professional achievements. Greg had lied about holding a degree from a prestigious university, one that didn't even show him as a graduate when I called the registrar's office. But that wasn't the worst part. Former colleagues I spoke with revealed that Greg had been fired from his last job for workplace harassment. The company had paid him to leave quietly, burying the truth to avoid a scandal. This wasn't just a case of a bad manager, it was a pattern of exploitation, manipulation, and deceit that had followed him from job to job. And now, it was my turn to be his victim. The plan. Armed with this damning information, I devised a plan. I didn't want to make a scene or engage in a war of words that could backfire. Instead, I decided to strike when it would hurt him the most. I compiled everything: Greg's fraudulent claims, the HR reports, testimonies from former colleagues, and even evidence of how he had sabotaged my work. With everything in hand, I sent an anonymous tip to the board of directors, detailing his fraudulent claims and unethical behavior. I made sure the legal department received the same information, ensuring they knew the full scope of his actions. The goal wasn't just to get rid of Greg, it was to expose him for the fraud he truly was. I wanted to make sure he never got another chance to manipulate people again. The fallout. The fallout was swift. Greg was placed on administrative leave the moment the board received the report. Within days, an internal investigation was launched, and the truth came to light. Greg's resume was exposed as a fabrication, and his behavior was revealed to be a direct violation of company policies. Within weeks, he was terminated for fraud, harassment, and misconduct. But the consequences didn't end there. The company realized how close they had come to allowing a toxic, manipulative leader to destroy the team. Reforms were introduced, including new vetting processes for managerial candidates, stricter policies on workplace conduct, and a commitment to ensuring transparency across all levels of the organization. The aftermath. As for me, I was offered a promotion as a gesture of goodwill from the company. They knew that I had helped them avoid a scandal, and in exchange, they offered me a chance to help rebuild the team and reshape the department. It wasn't the position I'd envisioned for myself, but it was an opportunity to make a real difference. I took it. I continued to rise in my career, but more importantly, I learned an invaluable lesson. Sometimes, the most powerful weapon isn't confrontation or aggression, it's knowledge, strategy, and patience. By understanding the system and playing within its rules, I was able to turn a personal betrayal into an opportunity for growth, change, and leadership. Looking back, I don't regret a single moment of it. Greg thought he could break me. Instead, he built the very foundation for my success. Talk about getting put in his place. OP returned the favor. When the family empire crumbled, I was lured in by the promise of being part of a legacy, a fitness equipment liquidator founded by a gold medalist, where family values were supposed to drive success. Instead, I found myself trapped in a bizarre circus of favoritism, mismanagement, and backdoor deals. The first red flag hit even before my first day. In a sleepy haze of morning stupor, I discovered that the CEO, an inexperienced woman who had taken over after her Olympian husband spiraled into mental health issues, was already bending the rules. She was trying to sidestep the recruiter by setting up a sneaky side deal to pay me less overall, despite offering a bit more upfront. I chalked it up to a quirky family business move, not realizing it was the first thread in a tapestry of deception. From the start, the business exuded a peculiar charm. Every morning, I was greeted with hugs and overly familiar kisses, as if I were part of the family rather than an outsider with a job. It felt like a warm embrace until I realized the truth: I was being welcomed into a dysfunctional circus masquerading as a tight-knit clan. As the weeks went by, I was assigned the monumental task of reviving their marketing strategy. Meanwhile, meetings dissolved into chaotic brainstorming sessions with the CEO's children and other staff members who were as scattered as loose change. I was left alone to navigate a maze of disorganized ideas, while they clung to a delusional hope of doubling sales overnight with mere social media posts and no budget to back it up. Then came the turning point. About a month in, I was ambushed by the CEO and her daughter, who claimed to be the operations lead. They cornered me in a stark, emotionless confrontation, blasting me for failing to meet their impossible expectations. Despite outlining every strategy one had implemented: automation of manual processes, setting up Salesforce, Slack, Zendesk, and streamlining POS systems, they refused to acknowledge the reality of a failing structure. Instead, they fixated on their unattainable dream, casting me as the scapegoat for their inertia. But I wasn't just a marketing guy, I was an agent of change. While they fumbled with empty promises, I was busy documenting their colossal failures. I gathered photographic evidence of OSHA violations, exposed wires in customer walkways, ADA breaches, hazardous conditions with uncertified forklift operations, and even employees risking their lives by standing on unstable equipment to reach high shelves. Every shortcut, every shoddy fix, was a testament to their reckless disregard for safety. In a moment of resolve, I sent all of my evidence to OSHA. I never imagined I'd be the one to deliver the knockout punch, yet here I was watching as the regulatory gears began to turn against them. The bureaucratic wheels moved slowly, but soon enough, confirmation came: crippling fines were being levied for their numerous violations. The final blow came when I drove past the warehouse a few months later. What I saw was surreal: a crumbling building with broken letters, overgrown grass choking the parking lot, and boarded-up windows standing as mute witnesses to the empire's collapse. The website was a barren 404-page, and the family had seemingly vanished without a trace. I had even tried to orchestrate a subtle nudge by teaming up with a savvy realtor friend. I envisioned literature being dropped off at their doorstep to push them into selling, and though the timing wasn't perfect, word soon spread that the property had been snapped up by an eager buyer. In the end, the very system that was built on familial bonds and hollow promises turned into a self-destructive engine. I left knowing that sometimes the best revenge is watching the collapse of a system that refuses to change. Karma isn't just a buzzword, it was the instrument of their undoing. Goodbye, Amy, and goodbye to the family that once pretended to be a community. The empire you built was destined to crumble from within, and I had the privilege of witnessing every moment of its downfall. And just like that, the house of cards came tumbling down. A family business built on favoritism, reckless decision-making, and sheer arrogance finally met the one force it couldn't manipulate: reality. It's almost poetic, isn't it? They ignored every warning, dismissed every opportunity to fix their mistakes, and in the end, they paid the price. The unraveling of a double life. It all began in the early 2000s when I first sensed something was off with my wife's routine. Our two kids, then 4 and 6 years old, were unusually chatty about their daily adventures. They kept mentioning trips to her parents' house, which by itself wasn't alarming until I learned that their grandparents lived over an hour's drive away. It struck me as odd that these visits were happening almost every day my wife wasn't working her part-time job. When I broached the subject, her answers were vague and unconvincing. My suspicions only deepened when I noticed extra mileage on her car, around 400 miles a week more than expected. There was no way that much driving could be explained by routine errands. Then came the breaking point. One day, a sticky note on her computer revealed her email password. Unable to resist, I logged in and discovered email exchanges between her and an old college friend. The messages hinted at an ongoing affair with a man from her past, a guy she casually mentioned while belittling his current wife. I printed out the emails, feeling a mix of betrayal and determination to uncover the whole truth. Not satisfied with just digital clues, I reached out to a trusted friend in law enforcement. He connected me with a former cop turned private investigator named Ron. I handed over the evidence and every detail I could gather. Ron's investigation was thorough. His report detailed exact times, locations, and even included photos. It turned out that my wife would take the kids to her parents' place, then meet her lover for lunch, and later rendezvous at a seedy motel for hours before reuniting with the children. The evidence was irrefutable. I contacted a divorce lawyer and had the papers drawn up. Still, I wanted to know everything about the man she was involved with. Ron dug deeper and uncovered that his name was Tom, a married man with 3 children who worked as a high-ranking sales executive for his family's business. It wasn't long before I decided to take one final step. On the same day I served my wife with the divorce papers at her workplace, I had Ron arrange a meeting with Tom's wife. I believed she deserved to know the truth about her husband's secret life. The fallout was immediate and explosive. Court documents later revealed that Tom's wife emptied their joint bank account, took the children, and left him in a whirlwind of legal battles. The repercussions were swift. Tom was fired from his job, evicted from the family home, and his life spiraled into chaos with restraining orders, police reports, and even a stint in jail following a violent altercation. Today, I can't even track down Tom on the internet. His past has effectively been erased, and his ex-wife has rebuilt her life, assuming a leadership role in the family business. As for my ex-wife and me, we've maintained a strictly civil relationship for the sake of our now-grown children. There's no lingering hate. Only a mutual recognition that our paths diverged for the better. And just like that, the lies crumbled. A suspicious husband turned detective, uncovering a betrayal that destroyed 2 marriages. His wife lost his trust, her lover lost everything, his job, his home, even his freedom. Meanwhile, those they hurt moved on and thrived. In the end, karma did its job. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a bite-sized story. More Reddit tales coming your way soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.